You're watching V-News 365, delivering global news, breaking stories, and important events from around the world every day.
China's AI film dream is turning into a nightmare. Production explodes, but less than 1% succeed. AI is creating an unprecedented revolution in China's short-4 film industry. But behind the astonishing speed of production lies a major paradox. The more films are being produced, the lower the percentage of films that actually succeed. Hundreds of thousands of new productions appear every year, yet only a tiny fraction manage to become major hits. This shows that AI may have solved the problem of how to make films faster and cheaper, but it has not come close to solving the hardest problem in entertainment: how to make audiences actually want to watch. Hundreds of thousands of AI films are being made every year. Less than 0.5% truly break out. According to AI's analysis of data from the first half of 2026, Chinese social media platforms saw approximately 221,900 new AI-generated short films. That is an enormous number. It shows that AI is no longer an experimental tool used by a small group of creators. It is rapidly becoming a mass production method for content so widespread that almost anyone can now make a film. When we look at the final result, the picture is completely different. Only around 1,000 productions surpassed 100 million views, representing approximately 0.47% of all AI films. In other words, for every 200 new AI films, fewer than one managed to reach 100 million views. Even using the much lower benchmark of 10 million views, the success rate was only around 5.8%, representing roughly 12,000 productions. The most striking part is not that more than 1,000 films succeeded, it is everything else. The vast majority of the more than 220,000 remaining productions failed to generate significant attention. This reflects a very clear reality: AI has dramatically lowered production costs. But it has not lowered competition. In fact, the opposite is happening. The easier it becomes to make films, the more people make films. And when supply grows too quickly, it becomes harder than ever for a new production to stand out. According to figures cited by QQ from the China Netcasting Services Association, the Chinese market released approximately 128,000 new short films in the first quarter of 2026. Of those, around 122,000 were AI-generated, meaning AI films accounted for more than 95% of the total. At the peak of production, a new AI film was reportedly appearing approximately every 20 seconds. That number is worth thinking about, because when production reaches that scale, the question is no longer, are there enough films to watch? The real question becomes, does the audience still have enough patience to choose between hundreds of thousands of similar looking films? While AI-generated films surged, but action short films declined from approximately 1,934 productions per month at the beginning of the year to 1,629 in June. The AI short film market was estimated at around 22 billion yuan during the first 5 months of 2026, with the potential to reach 40 billion yuan for the full year, serving more than 600 million users. But this is precisely where the market's biggest paradox appears. The larger market does not mean every producer is making money. If success is defined as reaching 100 million views, in roughly 1 out of every 1,000 new AI films becomes a major hit. In AI animation, the success rate is reportedly even lower, below 0.1%. In other words, AI is creating a gigantic market while simultaneously creating a gigantic content graveyard. AI is destroying the advantage of live action films, but creating a new trap. The rise of AI has rapidly changed the balance of power in China's short film industry. In the past, genres such as yanxia, fantasy, apocalyptic stories, and imaginary worlds often required enormous budgets for actors, locations, costumes, makeup, and visual effects. But AI has dramatically reduced many of those barriers. The producer no longer needs to build an entire ancient city. We do not need hundreds of background actors, and they do not necessarily need to invest in expensive visual effect systems. With a script, visual sound, and the right AI tools, an entire fictional world can be created at a fraction of the traditional cost and at a fraction of the time. the Mahongguo short minus film platform. The top 10 rankings were once dominated almost entirely by live minus action productions. Now only 4 of the top 10 are live minus action. On the surface, this looks like an absolute victory for AI. But reality is much more complicated, because AI does not just allow one producer to make films faster. It allows thousands of competitors to do exactly the same thing. And that is the biggest trap, according to Chen Longyi, founder of Shanghai AQI Film Television Media. Many AI film producers are currently using a highly structured formula designed to maximize audience retention. Minus the first 3 seconds introduce a powerful image or situation strong enough to immediately grab attention. Minus around the 20-second mark. Dramatically escalate the conflict and push the protagonist into a crisis. Minus from approximately 20 to 65 seconds continuously resolve conflicts while creating a sense of satisfaction for the viewer. Minus the final 15 seconds. Introduce an ambiguous conclusion that forces the audience to move on to the next episode. From a content minus optimization perspective, this formula can be extremely effective. But when everyone uses the same formula, the advantage quickly disappears. This successful script can be copied almost immediately by dozens or even hundreds of producers. The character names change, the setting changes, the colors and costumes change, but the underlying story structure remains almost identical. The result is that audiences begin seeing hundreds of versions of the same story. Today, it is the heroine is betrayed and seeks revenge. Tomorrow, the poor man is looked down on, then becomes a billionaire. The next day, the protagonist travels into another world and gains a supernatural power. AI can change the visuals within minutes, but it cannot easily change the psychology of the audience. And that is why the AI film industry could be heading toward a dangerous paradox. The faster films are produced, the more similar the content becomes. The more similar the content becomes, the faster audiences get bored. The faster audiences get bored, the lower the retention rate becomes. So the future of AI filmmaking may not belong to whoever produces the most films. It may belong to whoever creates the most distinctive stories. Minus AI is also transforming the film industry's labor market. This revolution is not happening only on the screen. It is directly affecting the people behind it. In Hang Dian, often described as the Hollywood of China, the rise of AI filmmaking is putting increasing pressure on the traditional production model. When an entire scene can be generated by AI instead of requiring a full film crew, both labor costs and production time can fall dramatically. But that creates a difficult question. If AI can replace parts of the work done by actors, models, artists, set designers, technicians, and post-production workers, what happens to those people? Some famous artists are choosing a different approach. Instead of fighting AI, they are selling or licensing the rights to use their own likeness and image data. Names such as Joey Wang and Deng I-1 have been mentioned in connection with the growing trend of licensing image rights to technology companies. This model can potentially generate large upfront payments as well as revenue sharing based on commercial performance. For example, Joey Wang has reportedly allowed NetEase to recreate her younger appearance, roughly representing her in her 20 seconds or early 30 seconds for use in a product without requiring her to physically appear in front of the camera. This is a highly significant new business model. In the past, actors sold their time and physical labor. In the AI era, they may be able to sell the rights to use a digital version of themselves. But this model is not available equally to everyone. A major star can turn their personal image into an asset. A lesser-known performer may instead become someone who is replaced. That is the crucial difference. A famous actor may earn millions or even tens of millions of yuan from AI image rights. Meanwhile, an extra or unknown performer could lose work because a production company decides that creating a digital character is cheaper than hiring a real person. Some well-known artists, including Esther Yu, Yang Zi and Zhao Zhan, have reportedly taken a cautious approach or refused to provide image data because of concerns over image rights, control of digital replicas, and the risk of being replaced. Looking at the bigger picture, this is no longer simply a question of, can AI make films? It is a question of, who will own the image of human beings in the future? Minus when human faces become data, the copyright boundary becomes increasingly blurred. One of the most concerning issues surrounding AI filmmaking is image ownership. In April 2026, IQIYICE Ogongyu announced the Nadu Pro Artist Data Repository, which integrates images of more than 100 well-known actors for AI content generation. If managed transparently, this could represent an entirely new business model. But the problem is that once visual data enters an AI system, it can potentially be recombined in ways that are extremely difficult for individuals to control. For example, the AI could use the eyes of one person, the facial structure of another, and the mouth of someone else to create an entirely new character. At that point, an immediate legal question emerges. Who owns the new character? Does it belong to the actor whose eyes were used? The person whose facial structure was copied? To the company that created the algorithm? Or the organization controlling the underlying dataset? This is not a minor question. Without clear regulations, the future could produce a strange situation. A completely new character could be created from dozens of recognizable traits belonging to real people. At that point, the boundary between creation and simulation and copying becomes increasingly difficult to define. And control over this danger is concentrated in the hands of a small number of major technology companies. They will possess a very unusual kind of asset. Not films or cameras, but data about human beings themselves. Minus, this is not yet an AI winter. It may be the end of easy money. Looking at a success rate below 0.5%, some people may conclude that AI films are failing. But that conclusion is probably too simplistic. AI is not failing. What is failing is the expectation that simply having AI tools means anyone can automatically create a million-view film. And this may be the most important point of all. During the early stages of AI, many people believed that once the technology became powerful enough, content production would become almost completely automated. But the real-world data appears to be showing the opposite. AI lowers production costs, but it does not automatically increase the value of an idea. Hey, I can create more beautiful images. It does not guarantee that characters will have emotional depth. AI can build scenes faster, but it does not guarantee that a story will move the audience. The AI can produce 100 films quickly, but it does not guarantee that even one of those films will be memorable. Therefore, the next competition may no longer be primarily about technology. It will be a competition over screenwriting, emotion, characters, storytelling rhythm, and the ability to understand the audience. Minus, the market is heading toward an unprecedented creative shakeout. As production costs fall, the number of producers increases, and content supply far exceeds audience demand, the market will inevitably begin to eliminate weaker players. Films that rely only on beautiful visuals without meaningful stories will disappear. Films that copy formulas too obviously will find it increasingly difficult to retain viewers. And producers who only know how to use AI to mass-produce films without knowing how to build a recognizable brand will struggle. On the other hand, teams that know how to combine would become the real winners. That is also why a low success rate does not necessarily mean the entire industry is failing. It could be a sign that the era of mass production is reaching its limits. After the explosion comes a different question. Not how many films can we make, but which films are actually worth watching? Not what can AI create, but what stories can humans tell with AI that were impossible to tell before? That could become the most important transition in the AI film industry. Minus, international expansion could become the next escape route. Another direction attracting attention is the export of Chinese AI films to international markets. Firms such as NetShort are opening opportunities to distribute Chinese short-form dramas to overseas audiences, combined with subtitles, dubbing, and localized content. This could represent a major opportunity if the domestic market becomes overcrowded. Finding new audiences overseas could allow producers with strong content to extend the commercial life of their productions. But exporting does not simply mean translating Chinese into English. American, European, Southeast Asian, and Vietnamese audiences all consume stories differently. Therefore, the next challenge will be localization, not simply translation. If I succeed in China may not necessarily succeed overseas. What if producers understand the culture, psychology, and viewing preferences of each market? AI films could become one of the easiest forms of entertainment content and to scale internationally. Minus conclusion why is not killing cinema, it is killing the advantage of easy production. The most important lesson from China's AI film explosion is not the 221,900 films that were created. It is not even the 0.47% that reach 100 million views. The bigger message lies in the paradox behind those numbers. AI has made film production easier than ever, but precisely because production has become so easy, creating a film that truly stands out has become harder than ever. In the past, a producer with money, talented actors, and a large production crew had a major competitive advantage. In the future, those advantages may no longer be absolute, but that does not mean everyone wins. Quite the opposite. When everyone has access to AI tools, AI itself stops being a competitive advantage. The advantage shifts to those with better ideas, better scripts, a deeper understanding of audiences, and the ability to use technology as a storytelling tool rather than turning it into a machine for mass producing content. That is why the success rate below 0.5% should not simply be viewed as a failure. It should be viewed as a warning. The era of making AI films as an easy way to make money may be coming to an end, and a new era may be beginning. I can help almost anyone make a film, but only people who truly know how to tell a story can make the audience stay. That could become the biggest shakeout in China's short-form film industry in the years ahead. Hundreds of thousands of films may be created, but in the end, only those with great stories, genuine emotion, and a distinctive identity may survive.